Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Believe in best.
Coming up tonight, the Prime Minister is off to attend Caricom in Belize. Free national movement leaders pave the way forward. Bishop Delton Fernandez tells FNMs to come together for the common good. Former Prime Minister of State for Finance calls for tax to be removed from bread basket items. And we have more on Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Welcome to our News Weekend edition, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Megan Shepherd. Topping news tonight, Prime Minister the Honorable Philip Brave Davis left town today, leading a delegation to attend the 33rd Intersessional Meeting of the Congress of Heads of Government of the Caribbean Community, Caricom, in San Pedro Town, Ambergris Caye, Belize. The Prime Minister's delegation consists of Minister of Foreign Affairs and Public Service, the Honorable Frederick A. Mitchell, Minister of Grand Bahama, the Honorable Ginger Moxie, Parliamentary Secretary to Ministry of Tourism, Investments and Aviation, the Honorable John Pinder, and High Commissioner to CARICOM, Her Excellency Leslia Miller-Bryce. The Prime Minister is expected to discuss matters impacting the region around climate change, COVID-19, and regional security. He will also participate in the 4th SICA CARICOM. The delegation will return to the Bahamas on March 4th. With the new slate of party officers joining the new leader, the opposition Free National Movement looks to formulate a plan of action. Party leader Michael Pintard led the FNM hierarchy, officers and supporters to a worship service today at New Destiny Baptist Cathedral, following a 3-day convention which included election of party officers. He also used the opportunity to share what's next for the FNM.
To retool our association, so a series of capacity building workshops for our associations. We're going to come out of the conclave by doing the Welcome Home tour throughout each of the constituencies. Some will be done in regions, others will be done individually. We have formed working groups made up of professionals from the private sector and civil society, as well as former ministers, parliamentary secretaries, etc., to shadow every government ministry, to make sure that when we talk about legislation, policies, programs, and projects, we are evidence-based.
This year's convention theme, Forward United, is in line with what Pintard sees as the next step.
We're forward-looking. The generation on whose shoulders we stand have made an incredible contribution. No amount of revisionism by members of the government is going to change that. But more importantly, we have the task now of writing the plan of action going forward. And what you saw on display there at the convention demonstrates we have the talent, we believe our bench is deep, and we are grateful to our past prime ministers who have served, but it is our task now to write the future.
Newly elected party chairman Dr. Dwayne Sand says the FNM understands the magnitude of work ahead of them, but they also understand that this comes with great opportunity. Included in the work ahead is a party vision.
We recognize that this transformational or transfigurational approach to life in the Bahamas is absolutely mandatory, particularly because the young people that make up the majority of our voting bloc feel that there is very little in the Bahamas for them. And so we will focus on, even as we pay attention to our women and to our older people, but we are going to be very focused on young people and ask for their advice, their recommendations as to what kind of Bahamas they want to see. Access to land is very important. Opportunities for careers, not jobs, careers. When you hear of the number of Bahamian people that are barely subsisting in a modern Bahamas, almost 50 years on from independence, I don't think we can hold our heads high.
While delivering the sermon at the FNM's 50th anniversary celebration church service today, Bishop Delton Fernandez called for national unity. He says as the country continues to rebound from Hurricane Dorian and while battling COVID-19, we need all hands on deck.
The times we're in require you to remember that we are all one country. That Mordecai says that you can't afford to mistake that if this side of the ship goes down, that your side ain't going down too. That if we're going to get out of this, all of us have to make a concise effort to turn our country around. It is an indictment to have 50% of our population below the poverty line. I did not say minimum wage, below the poverty line. We've got work to do. We've got to make this country better.
Meantime, the Free National Movement Member of Parliament for East Grand Bahama is once again calling on the Davis administration to do more to mitigate the negative impact of price hikes on residents of that island. Member of Parliament for East Grand Bahama Kwesi Thompson says that just like the rest of the country, Grand Bahama is suffering from the effects of high inflation, particularly at grocery stores, gas pumps, and now a rate increase to be implemented by the Grand Bahama Power Company. He says while he understands that inflation is caused by international factors, he is calling on the government to do more to lighten the effects on Bahamians.
One of the easiest things that they can do right now that will have an immediate effect is to simply take VAT off of the bread basket items. That is a very simple, quick, impactful thing that the government can do now. You know, we did a disservice, unfortunately. The government did a disservice when it decreased VAT on for millionaires with properties of more than $2 million. So we gave a tax break to the rich, and then you add VAT on bread basket items and add VAT on to medication. Well, let's reverse that.
Thompson also suggests more concessions and funding for local farmers and fishermen.
We know that when the food prices go high, Bahamians now are going to be looking at how can I buy local? How can I buy from our local fishermen? That's some of the things that we need to be focused on.
He adds that he believes the government should increase social assistance and the amount of persons who are eligible, amongst other suggestions.
They should be increasing the amount that we spend for school lunch programs and also increasing the amount of students that are eligible to get this. We should be looking at tariffs. We should be looking at customs duties. We should be looking at the fees that government charges when it comes to bringing goods into the country.
As Russia continues its attempt to take control of Ukraine, now threatening nuclear action, the European Union has announced that it intends to begin shipping arms to Ukraine, the first time in its history it has taken such a step. Speaking at a press conference this afternoon, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said the move marked a watershed moment. Also announced a slate of new sanctions targeting Russia and Belarus and a ban on Russia using European airspace. An advisor to Ukraine's interior minister said missiles were launched from Belarus into Ukraine this afternoon. It comes after President Zelensky's office announced today that Ukrainian and Russian officials are due to meet for talks on the Belarusian border with Ukraine, although they have not said when. A Ukrainian statement earlier said that Belarusian leader Alexander Lukashenko has taken responsibility for ensuring that all planes, helicopters, and missiles stationed on Belarusian territory remain on the ground during the Ukrainian delegation's travel, talks, and return. As the world continues to watch to see what is going to come out of those talks, one should note Ukraine is not backing down, having killed hundreds of Russian soldiers, a feat the Kremlin is reluctant to address. And stay with us. The University of the Bahamas has a second go at its College of Tourism. One Generation Next entrepreneur shows how COVID-19 worked in her favor. Adastra Gardens needs Flamingos to step up their game. That's coming up when our news returns.
Got size at 6'5". Hi, this is Shamika.
The University of the Bahamas has reestablished its College of Tourism, Hospitality, Culinary Arts, and Leisure Management. UB President Dr. Rodney Smith said he hopes the restaurant will become more popular with visitors and food lovers alike.
At the start of my presidency, we truly began working on fleshing out the vision for a university system, inclusive of campuses, colleges, and centers of excellence. Over the last 7 years, we have been executing as much of this vision as possible. This college is now a part of that vision realized, and it will continue to grow and develop on our journey towards becoming a world-class institution.
Chairperson of UB's Board of Trustees, Allison Maynard Gibson, fondly remembered a time when students came from as far as Africa to attend the tourism school. She says she hopes the school will receive significant recognition.
I know that I speak on behalf of my colleagues on the Board of Trustees in saying that our wish for the CALM is that in 2024, 50 years after the establishment of the School of Hospitality, UB will be celebrating the CALM receiving awards as a world-class college of international renown.
In this edition of Generation Next, CEO and founder of Connected Virtual Assistants and Business Consultants, Deandra Beckles, says the COVID-19 pandemic has worked in her favor as it relates to her virtual assistance business venture. While businesses were shutting their doors, her business was able to take off internationally.
Because it was something new, because we were all going digital, it was something that, we realized that the brick and mortar style wasn't working anymore because with the pandemic, there was such uncertainty and everything was closing at that point. And so I tried to assist businesses that were still more or less had everything on paper, manual, and try to now take that digital. But I realized that because the U.S. had more exposure to the type of business that I do, a lot of my clients were attracted from the U.S. And so I had a lot of international inquiries more than local. But as of recent, I can say within the past year, I've been getting a lot of clientele locally.
Beckles says when she was forced to work from home, she realized it was time to take that leap of faith into entrepreneurship, something she has always had a passion for.
I help small businesses actually get the necessary tools that they need in order to run their business effectively and efficiently. So not only do we do that, but we ensure that you have the correct documentation and the things that you need in place in order to run your businesses. That goes with business plans, proposals. If you want to perhaps apply for one of those contracts from a government facility, then we would help you, assist you with those proposals. We would write agreements. And on the other hand, in terms of setting up systems, and so we help you to set up the correct systems that you need in order to run your business effortlessly.
Since then, she says she has learned 3 important lessons: to accept constructive criticism, running a business requires a team, and not everything will always go according to plan. To other aspiring entrepreneurs, she says plant the seed and trust God's plan.
God has given all of us a talent. He has given all of us a gift. And to maximize on that, find what it is that you love to do. And don't just look at, because a lot of times in business, we feel like if we don't see the harvest, that we're failing. My advice to you would be look at this seed.
Still to come, Grand Bahama is hyping it up with a dance competition. And Reach Out Youth Organization has been impacting lives for 15 years. We have those details when our news returns.
Got size at 6'5". Hi, this is Flamingos.
This is our news. Welcome back. The Bahamas Dance Theater philanthropic arm, known as HYPE, helping young people excel, hosting its first dance competition this weekend. Colette Parker says that for 10 years, the group hasn't been involved in the community through various initiatives, and now they wanted to present a platform for dancers ages 5 through 20 to showcase their talents.
Hype encompasses all genres of dance. If you're a ballet dancer, tap dancer, jazz dancer, a contemporary dancer, it encompasses all of that. So we just wanted to create a platform for students here in the Bahamas so that they can compete, because one of the best ways to sharpen your skills is to compete.
New Providence-based Pulse Dance Group came to Second City Stage to show off their skills as well. Parker is hoping that the competition introduces some economic benefits to all islands.
This is just the first year that we're doing hype dance competition. We're hoping to expand to the different islands in the Bahamas, and of course that's going to foster some domestic tourism. Of course they had to come over, they had to rent an Airbnb, they had to get car rental, we're using the hotel facilities. So we do see this as an economic booster for the island, and of course if we do this more and more, we can extend it to different countries, because we do have schools interested from the cities in Fort Lauderdale and also West Palm Beach. They want to come on down to hype dance competition, so we're hoping to bring them down in the future.
Pulse choreographer Ricardo Christie was happy to see the friendly rivalry. He says he hopes both groups can continue to shine a spotlight on the arts.
Right now it's a competition-based program, but art is art, and art was never meant to be so much of a competition. But this is like a stepping stone for people to understand the hard work that has to go into dance as an art form. So yes, this is just another facet of dance itself, and we would love to do other things as it pertains to performing, whether it be a show, whether it be competition, but definitely making sure that dance is being recognized in the country as an important art form to flourish and to make people just appreciate the work that we put into it.
The Reach Out Youth Organization has been impacting lives for 15 years now, not only mentoring young boys, but also implementing a feeding program, facilitating various give-back initiatives, and much more. The Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, Mario Boleg, during his keynote address, encouraging the attendees to be mindful of the decisions they make as they will determine their future.
I stand before you now as the Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, starting my career path as a security officer. If someone offers you a job to serve, that tells me my job is to serve all this time. So the Lord said, I don't want you to serve on the police force. I don't want you to serve on the prison. I want you to go in the bank, and I want you to open the door for people so I could teach you something. And then if I had joined the police force and the prison, I would have never, ever, ever had the opportunity to coach basketball, because of the schedule and the shifts would not allow me the time to mentor young men. So I knew that the Lord had my passion, which was always youth, and mentoring men and young men and women was the reason I ended up spending over 20 years coaching basketball in the high school and the night league.
Police Superintendent Wendell Clark telling the group of all young men that it is important to not only hear advice, but to apply it.
This country is your inheritance, and you have to take care of it, and you have to value yourself. And every day you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, what is my purpose? What's my value? You have value, and value isn't in things. Your value is in serving, and your value is in serving your country, and it's in serving people. Whatever you do, be humble, and always remember, we are here to build a country.
Vincent Marshall, a Cable Bahamas employee, was also on the event's speakers panel. He says there are days they will feel unsupported. It's at these times that they must believe in themselves.
There will be days when your friends will not believe in you. They will not believe in your vision. There will be days when your family doesn't believe in you, and they don't believe in your vision. And those will be the hardest days of your lives, because you know where you want to go, but nobody is going to say you can do it. You have to believe that within yourself. And that is a reality.
Still to come, Marcellus Hall gives us the latest in sports. We're going to take a look at weather, and Adastra Gardens is calling for flamingo babies. All of this when we return.
Got size at 6'5". Hi, this is Flamingos.
You're watching Our News Weekend Edition, and now here's our Marcellus Hall with a check on sports.
Welcome to the Sunday Sports Check, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. Team Bahamas men's national basketball team in action yesterday at the World Cup qualifiers in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. Bahamas set to play 2 games. They played the first one against the U.S. Virgin Islands yesterday evening, and with good result. Bahamas getting a very important victory here. In case you're wondering, they get the win 86-74. As for the Bahamas, they were led by Willis Mackey Jr. He had 25 points in the ball game, helped out by Michael Thompson Jr. with 19, Tavario Miller, who had 12 points, and Danrad Chicken Nose with 14. The Bahamas now in good standing as they get ready for their second matchup. They'll take on the Dominican Republic. That game is scheduled for this weekend as well. We'll give you details on that coming up for you tomorrow as to how they progress in that matchup. However, a big victory, like we said, for the Bahamas, 86-74, and they get a very important win as the qualifiers get underway in this first window. Meanwhile, over at JBLN, players and fans getting a chance to hook up with one of our very own, Jazz Chisholm, Miami Marlins second baseman, in town, visiting family and friends, and taking a moment to come on by and sign some autographs for the young players who are very much excited to see the young man who is currently the only Bahamian Major League Baseball player at this point in time. Jazz has some time on his hands because of the fact that Major League Baseball is in a lockout. He's hoping to return to action in spring training and start the 2022-2023 baseball season as quickly as possible. And that is your look at sports here on this Sunday. I'm Marcellus Hall.
And let's see how things are shaping up over the next few days with weather. Authorities at Adastra Gardens are concerned about the national bird of the Bahamas not reproducing. It's been a decade without one pregnancy. Our Sharika Johnson reports.
Caribbean flamingos are the most challenging to breed, and Adastra Gardens has waited 10 years for a new birth. Animal manager Andrew Haley says the local zoo is endeavoring to make conditions more conducive for breeding.
Variety of different environmental factors, so sunlight, the availability of good clean water, good depth in the water, like I said, the material and the substrate that they need to build their nest. It could be the number of the population as well.
Most of the flamingos, whose life expectancy can extend to more than 70 years in captivity, have become fixtures at the zoo. Haley says Adastra Gardens will be happy if just one baby flamingo is born.
Our flock is pretty on the old side. You know, they've been here since, most of them since the 1950s. Some of them were also born here. But nonetheless, you know, they're a bit on the mature side. I don't want to say old.
Some animal lovers and concerned Bahamians have come forward to help the birthing process, ensuring the environment is favorable for mating. A GoFundMe account has pulled in $10,000.
What we're going to do as well, we're going to set up a shade cloth here as soon as we start to see some activity, and that's going to give them some more privacy as well.
And all of them will be behind this?
Yeah, all behind the shade cloth. Hopefully mating, you know, we'll probably play some music.
For our news, I'm Sharika Johnson.
And we wish Adastra Gardens all the best with that because I'd like to see some baby flamingos. And we end on that note. Thank you so much for joining our news tonight, Weekend Edition. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Megan Shepherd. Have a wonderful week ahead.